Sounds good.
We
Yeah.
should set up a time to get together.
Yeah. Did you see
Okay.
the my email back?
I did. I got that. Yeah.
Okay. Let me know if
So
anything.
whenever it's convenient for. What's that?
Yeah, other than Monday, next week things look good.
Okay. Anything other than Monday? All right. I'll look through my schedule and I'll text you back.
Well, that sounds great.
Okay.
You're all home and settled in now, Pam?
You talking to me?
Yeah, you're home and settled in now?
Yes. Yeah.
Me too.
That's good.
We'll start in about a minute.
What do you do during the day on this, Ken? Are
On
you on? Are you on Slack during the day too? Are you like you're doing this all day?
No, I'm not. Like today, we have a Monday through Friday standing phone call that we do. Me, Terry, Elise, John, Jenny, Vanessa, at earlier in the day, which was like a prep call for what we're talking about.
Got it.
And then today for me, I filed a whole bunch of trademarks today. That just happened to be trademark day. I had a bunch of things to do.
Very cool.
Do you have a registered federal mark for your business?
No, do you recommend it?
Well, it's not a bad thing. It really, what it would do is would allow you to stop someone else from operating a similar kind of business in your turf.
Wow.
That's what it does. But trademark laws don't arise from filing of a trademark. That might sound strange because you might say, well, why would you want to file a trademark then if the rights don't even arise from that? It arises from usage of a trademark. So you already have trademark rights because you use your mark in commerce. What you get when you file the trademark, though, is you get like a big hammer to chase other people away. That's
What about as a sales tool? Like if I want to sell my business, is it good to have it trademarked?
Absolutely. Any purchaser is going to, or probably going to ask about that. It's important because part of what you're going to be selling is your goodwill.
Yeah.
And that name is wrapped up in that concept. And so having that trademark is one of those things that you can consider an asset of the company.
Yes, I would indeed, for sure.
Okay. Well,
I'm going to give that some thought. That sounds awesome. Yeah.
Okay. Well, while we're on it, who else needs a trademark? Ralph, you got one? Greg, you got one? We're doing trademarks.
Trademarks. Well, how do I get a trademark?
You don't have a trademark for Delicious Heights?
Yeah. What does that mean? Like the.
All right. So, anytime you use a name in business, you have trademark rights to that name. The more arbitrary and fanciful the name, the stronger the trademark rights are. And I'm going to do a little law before we do a little summit series here. So what trademark rights gives you is it protects the asset of your company, so that someone like me doesn't open up Delicious Heights in Florham Park or something. Well, like there was another company that contacted me maybe a year ago and asked if they could open up a quantum floats. And well, I said no.
Why? Because you own the trademark?
Yeah, because I own the trademark. But keep in mind that I had the trademark rights because I used the mark. And my priority to those rights depend on that I use them before somebody else. So first to use gets superior rights. But the actual registered trademark I was talking to Pam about is like a hammer that you can wield, preventing other people from, using it in your territory, doing what you do.
So how do you do that? File?
Yeah, you file. Yeah, I did that all day today. You know, you file with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. It's all online. You provide them with a specimen, which you show them what the mark is. You could either just put it as a word, or if you like the way that you write it, you can protect it in kind of the logo style. Like Coca-Cola would be protected not only as the name Coca-Cola, but also that swish in the way they do it. So because they protect the swish in the way you do it, someone else that came out with a cola that had nothing to do with the name Coca-Cola, but yet copied the swish, they'd still be able to say, hey, stop, you can't do that.
Interesting. That's I'm gonna put that on the list of things to do.
All right. That's 2. Who else? More trademarks. All right. Well, that's probably enough primer in corporate law for this series. What do you guys think?
Never enough law in these conversations.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. Let's start with this Einstein quote because it segues into what I want to talk to you guys about tonight. By the way, I don't really know if it's an actual Einstein quote. There's some question about that, but it really is within, like, let's say, the spirit of things that Einstein thought. So sometimes it's attributed to another author who attributes it to Einstein. But I just want to be clear about that. If you searched it, you might not actually find it in the book. But anyway, Einstein has been attributed with saying, or at least considering and thinking, that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind a faithful servant. Okay, well, right off the bat, he's talking about like a division of thought. Think about that. This very first sentence starts off with intuition as a part of our thinking, and then talks about rationality as a part of our thinking. So he says the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. The rational mind is a faithful servant. But then he goes on and makes a commentary about modern society, or maybe not modern society, maybe just society in general. He says, we've created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Well, he's saying things are a little topsy-turvy, or that people aren't as, let's say, maybe not say clear, but they haven't cleaned their house enough, their thinking machinery enough to cover what Einstein is saying, to have the intuitive mind remain the sacred gift and the master over the rational mind, which he calls the faithful servant. Okay, he says, well, we've got these two kinds of thoughts, but we seem to have flip-flopped them, where we've taken the faithful servant, the rational mind, your logical mind, if you want to call it that, and awarded it status as master in chief, which it ain't. Let's go to the upside down pyramid, and then I'll tell you guys why I'm setting the table tonight with this quote and our upside down pyramid. So look, so here too, your thinking machinery divided into categories that are helpful to understand how your mind works. way down at the bottom, we have, we have a separation at the bottom. We have what we've been calling the other, or spirit, or soul, or whatever you want to call it. That part of you that is more than the body, that's weighing down or expressing through you. You know, kind of will the real, what was that show? Will the real so-and-so please come forward? I forgot. It used to be like this game show. But anyway, like the real Ken Kaplan, or who am I? Who am I really? Who's Ralph? So that's, that's kind of the part that we point at the bottom. But that who Ken Kaplan is has necessarily expresses through the thinking machinery. And look at the direction it expresses on up through. So if you look at the right side of the triangle, it's called delta to beta. See that? It's called natural mind. That's what we'll talk about tonight. Way down at the bottom there are those little goodies and things that we all decided are real when we were little kids, say before the age of 3.5. We needed all that stuff to survive. But they're also, if you think about putting a 3-year-old, a 3.5-year-old in charge of organizing your thinking machinery, I think you'll get the point that maybe it's prone to mistakes. You think? And then we have on the left side, kind of, the beta to delta, which by the way is a direction. What we're going to talk about tonight is these directions of thought. And remember, the whole context of this discussion here is to give you a model so that you can do you better. I could, maybe do relationships better. You could say maybe do agreements better. Those are all pointing at the same thing. So I want to cover 4 concepts tonight. The first thing that I want to talk about is that the natural mind function, where we are here, has a natural order, kind of like you see depicted here in this upside down triangle, or what Einstein was talking about. And that natural order of things includes thinking, or especially for the purposes of our discussion, includes thinking. That's concept 1. Concept 2 is that when you get your house of cards and you start to clean things up, certain things are going to be important to you, or more important than other things. And in fact, some things that were important to you may not be important to you anymore. I'll give you a little preview on that. Suppose you grew up thinking that being right was the end all and be all. We've talked a little bit about that. That may not become important to you anymore as you start to clean up your thinking machinery to keep it in line with the natural order of things. That's concept 2. Concept 3 that I want to talk to you about is something that's mentioned in the book, if you read the chapter, and I think it goes under the term warrior's way. And the book makes reference to it about the ancient shamans. But what I want to do is I want to put a contemporary context in that to talk about, what we do right now, or what we could be doing in terms of the warrior's way in doing business, or in raising our families, or in doing relationships. And lastly, what I want to talk about tonight is on the right side of this, that part of the natural mind function has to do with how we express from delta to beta. Okay, so those are the 4 topics for tonight. I'm going to ask Elise to come on and talk about the first concept, which is that natural mind function deals with a natural order of things. And in particular, what we're talking about here is thinking. Thinking actually has a natural order.
Hi.
Hey. How are
Thanks
you?
for the intro, Ken.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's my pleasure. Hey, Elise, I don't want to just kind of want to jump right in here, and I'm not asking you to do your Edith Bunker tonight unless you want to. That's not the point why I'm going to ask you this question here. But I know you've done that, and I've seen you do that before, and I suspect that you doing that has something to do with you cleaning house a little bit in in the natural order of the way that you think about things.
Yeah,
You know?
I know what you're pointing at.
Go ahead.
Edith is a way of, for me, not doing what, feeling sorry for myself or being whiny. It's she's just more matter of fact, and she just doesn't bother herself with that.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't her thing. Like you were saying, it's not important to me when I am not, I don't have to think so hard. I just can talk about things. It's not important to me to be important when I'm Edith. All right? Does that help?
Yeah, it does help.
It's a not do. It's using my direction of thought. So, okay, I'm conscious that I can make some certain errors, and it's a not doing of those errors. So I can take it down and go, okay, I don't have to think that way anymore. I don't have to believe that these things are so important that I have to sound a certain way.
Yeah, that makes sense. It seems like like your own functional bypass.
I can,
Go ahead.
yes, it's, I can be a lot more optimistic. I'm not mired down by heavier thoughts that don't do me any good, I don't have to feel sorry for myself. I don't have to worry about what happened with my father, I can get to a place where I realize that I need to forgive him for me. And that really helped me a whole lot right there. Because I knew I loved him, and I couldn't, that wasn't going to go away. So I had to have a way of forgiving him so I could paint that whole memory of being molested when I was a kid a different color. So I could say, okay, he, I turned out all right, I turned out all right. He did the best he could. If he knew what it cost me, he would never have done it. So that's an easier way for me to live in the world, right?
Yeah.
So I can use the direction of thought from I can believe that, or try it on for size, or deliberately believe that instead, and use that to have my direction of thought go more smoothly and with less aggravation. Does that make any sense?
It does make sense. I mean, would you say that some of those experiences that you're referring to were like places where you decided certain things about what's real in the world, and those became quirky things that interfered with what we're calling, the natural order of thought?
Yeah, well, if going from belief up through, it was the natural order of thought I was using. Like, I thought that I was my father's wife, and that I was entitled to, or I was an entitled grown-up when I was just a little kid. And that belief did not serve me at all well, especially not as an adult. Actually, nowhere. Because if you have a belief that doesn't line up with a reality, it's just gonna cause trouble. It's just not, it can't be sustained, and it just isn't gonna, it's not gonna have a flow for you. in the
Yeah.
real world.
Yeah.
So first,
What are you gonna make real from starting with a fantasy?
no, you can't. So you have to look at what's there and say, oh, I see. I was a kid. I wanted to believe that to somehow to make sense out of where I was. Didn't make any kind of good sense. But all right, that's okay. My mistake. I can see it, the whole world differently. And that's using the, again, change to not do that way of thinking, to think, okay, I was a kid. That note, and to be able to separate what's reality from what's fantasy is a really important part of getting this done.
Yeah. So you said that what you decided based on those experiences was something like about instead of just being a kid, about being your dad's wife, or being that, something
Yeah.
other than a kid to him.
And that set me up for all kinds of things, like seeing my mother as a rival and being jealous and all of those things that aren't important now. They just don't have an importance in my life.
Yeah, and they affect very much what you can make real. It's like taking energy and plugging it into the ground. Because it doesn't really go anywhere other than just discharges it. It doesn't. It doesn't negative way. Much the same way if you go through your life all angry, trying to be right about things. You're taking that energy and it's not flowing in a natural direction, in either direction.
Yeah, I once thought I had to be angry at my father. But then I start to see it differently, that no, I don't have to do that at all. That doesn't even have to be there. And whatever happened in your childhood, what you thought then is how you react in the world with your friends. So this had a huge effect on how I treated men and other women too.
Yeah.
It's much better to work together. This makes much more sense.
Yeah. That became one of those things that you saw was elevated or changed in importance.
Yes. There's a whole lot of not doings in the process of getting through that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If unless you have something else that you want to add, hang in there, or hang on, and I want to bring Terry on to talk about the second of these concepts.
I thought maybe we could ask. Paul's pretty good about the thinking machinery and how it works too. I think.
Okay, sure. Yeah, well, ask him if he's
ask him if he could give us a hand explaining that. Paul, are you there?
I don't think Paul's on, so we'll have to.
Okay, we'll
have
go.
to take a. That's okay.
No problem. We can go on to Terry then.
So, Terry, can you come on and talk about this second concept that we're talking about, which has to do with, like importance of things when the thinking machinery, let's just say, is smoothed out or functioning properly? What do you prioritize in terms of importance? At least touched on that a little bit. I know you've got some experiences there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the first thing is to realize that both types of thinking do useful things and are necessary. We have them both and they both function all the time. But like that Einstein quote said is, well, what are we trying to do with them? And when I first, and started thinking about this and looking at this, I realized that there was a lot of things I did that looked a lot like spell checker and grammar checker in the computer. if you think about spell checker and grammar checker, they're looking for rules. They're looking to do the same things the same way. They want to do it right, but they really aren't focused on the underlying text. They're really not dealing with what are you trying to say? Who are you trying to say with? It's more about, like you were saying, about being right, about being precise. And there's times that's really useful. Like when you're doing math, it's really useful to have an answer.
When you're doing relationships, maybe not much.
When I've had relationships where I'm insisting on one answer, and certainly if it's my answer, it hasn't gone very well. And so on that sort of logic thing, it does really, really well. Kind of what's it's programmed to do, just like spell checker or grammar checker, which do really well what the computer tells them to do, but they're not the operator.
Yeah. Well,
And
go ahead.
go ahead.
Let's say those that have been on the series know that Terry runs the slides most of the time here. Sometimes Jenny runs them too, but Terry will run them and can pull a slide up seemingly before we'll even get a word out. She'll know where it's going, which is a testament to your to your organizational skills. But I know too that those same organizational skills too you've considered or struggled mightily with in terms of co-opting the entire thinking machinery in everything you do. And by that I mean, kind of right at the Einstein quote, taking the rational mind and turning it into the master.
Yeah, because it's like trying to take the whole universe and put it into a filing cabinet. It doesn't fit. And so, one of my discards is like, logic and answers and getting reasons for everything is a really limited filing cabinet. And it doesn't take advantage of what's all out there. And Elise was giving us a really great example of when you start to look from the other side. She's saying, I had to look at my belief here and what to do with that. And that was a hard one for me to buy for a while. For a long time, I thought, well, I should be able to reason my way through this. Just use logic and reason, figure it out. But when I started saying, I do certain things over and over again, and there's no reason, or it's because, that's what's in there, I had to look at where did that start? Just like Elise was talking with her, what did she believe about her dad? I had to look at some of those things for me too.
Okay.
So that was a different thing I had to make more important, and I'd never made that kind of thing important before.
What was like the hitch? Like, I mean, we had this conversation earlier today too about where the clog point is, or what you were going for, or what you go for, or what you the kind of the pattern that you have brought with you for your childhood that you found or find stands in the way as the hurdle to expressing who Terry is.
Part of it was about being right, but when I dug even deeper than that, it was I felt to be safe or to be okay, that I had to have all these ducks in a row and be prepared for an argument. So I thought, like, I need reasons, I need to have it organized, but it was all kind of looking for where I thought somebody would say you did this, you were bad, or you're in trouble, or whatever, and which is a really little kid way of operating. because when you argue, there's no way any new information gets in, So when I would be looking, well, I want to prove this, I want to know this, I want an answer, I wasn't letting even in the possibility, there's parts of your thinking, there's lots of your thinking, most of it, that whole intuitive mind, that don't fit in the filing cabinet. It has nothing to do with filing cabinets. And the more I insisted on trying to, quote, figure this out or look at everything logic and control, that didn't even allow me to try on new ways of thinking or to see what else I could do, just kind of when I was completely in an unknown, in an unknown situation, unknown. I mean, I think in some ways I ended up being a lawyer because I thought, if you just prepare hard enough, you're ready for everything. And that's part of what they teach you. But but there's relationships and experiences that, you don't want to be prepared. You want to get to them fresh. And so I was really frustrated because I was trying to experience my life through this really limited, I was like paddling in the ocean with a teaspoon when I could be sailing. So and the fact that I couldn't see the wind didn't mean it wasn't there to sail with.
Well, that's true. It sounds like you're considering your priorities of what's important to you, and that's what we're talking about here, right? Because we've had lots of look, I know it too, Terry. I mean, I've been with you for a long time too, and have done a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
And so,
we've been a good mirror to each other at times.
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah, but if the goal or the desire is to be right or to be one up or to be better than relationships, that is not something that you can do well from that thought.
Yeah, there was a quote in a book I read a while ago that also kind of got my attention, which said that relating to someone is about going in a relationship, or relating is going into the unknown together with another person. And I put up that little thing about the manuscript being edited to death, because that's what I would do. And if whatever I was sharing with anybody was edited to death, how were they going to know me? How would I know who I was with them?
Yeah.
And so that, and so it's been a big change of what I've always done. And I can't say it's a done deal, but at least I have a way to look at what I'm doing, what I've done my whole life, without beating myself, saying, yep, you do that. And guess what? You can do something else. And that's where that not doing stuff comes in really handy.
Yeah. So what, give me an example of a not doing that you used or are using to deal with the, let's call it what you do, the doing of being right and organizing and one-upping people.
Okay, so one example is often when I would be talking with someone or working in a group, when an idea or something would be said, my impulse or my habit was I wanted to define, I wanted to qualify, I wanted to find the exception, the what ifs, and all of that never moved things forward. In my mind, they did, but they never did. I think it was driving the people around me a little nuts. And so yeah. So it's like, okay, let me let me look where I can agree. Let me look to find out what somebody's saying, not just charge in and say and show where I can draw a distinction or a definition or something that in my mind was useful, but it really wasn't serving anything. And so that, trying to say, okay, when I say something, let's do something different here than what I usually do. It was a not doing for me. And another one that I'm currently in the process is when I often in conversations, and you guys are helping me with that, is instead of pausing and trying to reframe what I'm going to say all the time, is just spit it out. And that's a surprise. It sounds so simple, but for me it wasn't. It didn't feel natural. And so, but I would never find out kind of what came out unedited, what was actually there.
Yeah. So it always sounds edited because it is edited. And so the recipient, the other person, this relationship thing you're talking about, they always get an edited version of something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like people can't see they're getting an edited version. They get an edited version. It's the same as, if you're walking up to somebody with your hands behind your back, they can tell. It leaves them wondering what is behind your back and why there is even be a need to have something behind your back.
Yep. But so what I first had to do is actually take it in and say, oh, this is what I'm doing with my thinking. This is the result that's actually happening. And like, okay, what can I do differently? What not doing can I be doing to find out what else is there? What's outside the filing cabinet?
Yeah. And I think really this conversation does very much go to the concept that we're talking about what's important to Terry, right? Because that's where the conversations we have with you have led about this topic. Terry, what's important?
Yeah. Well, the thing
you want to work with us, or do you want to be right?
Yep. And the measure of what's important is what I'm actually doing. That's something. It's like, it's not what I say it's important, is what am I doing? Because that's what folks see. They see what you do.
Yep. That's what they see. People don't miss that stuff. They might not have the words for it, but people just know. They know when you're shooting, like a straight arrow, and when you're not. People can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I guess that leads to what you can do with this, right? Because the third concept, the one that I said I talk about, is this thing in the Office of Shaman called Warrior's Way. And a quote from it right here on the screen is, in order to teach the natural order of the beta to delta thinking process. Remember that, right? Teach the natural order of the beta to delta thinking process. That's the one that was on the left side, heading down. The early shamans, devised a code of conduct, which they, for lack of a better term, called the warrior way. There were many, many things that a young man had to learn in order to become a warrior. He had to think of his people before he thought of himself. And I think the book even goes on to talk about, maybe not at this point, but in some point, about sending out the young men, and they'd go out and, we all heard stories about this, go out and, come back in 6 months, live in a cave, find a saber-toothed tiger. I wouldn't mind having had sent my kids out to do that. But in New Jersey, there's a thing called DIFAS, the Division of Family Services, which probably would have had something to say had I, kicked my kids out at the ripe young age of, let's say, young teens or even younger, to go out and learn the warrior's way. But we as parents do that same thing. We as bosses, let me say it this way. I grew up amazingly undisciplined, just amazingly. And it didn't really seem that way to me until, well, really until I started to see where the attributes or where the emanations or what the reality is that comes from that. Yeah, I've done some great things. There's no doubt about it, and so, and I, and you all have too. I mean, going to law school, having a house, working 7 days a week, raising 4 kids does require some amount of discipline. But I think I didn't really have a look at it until I started to take a peek under the hood. Or maybe another way to say that is I was ready to take a peek under the hood, because certainly, as Terry's pointing out, the signs of my lack of discipline were not out of my recognition. They were freaking everywhere. What I talked about last night about fights with my partners all fits into that same thing of, well, I could do whatever I want. Yay. And, I can see how as a kid I grew up and that was very much a part of what we did. That was, it was very much part of what my mom did too, with her own parents as she rebelled. So, I learned not the warrior's way, I learned the rebellious way. But, I've had to and continue to have to learn some of the lessons that, I could have learned, maybe, kids should learn early on so that they can, they say in this quote here that the young man had to learn how to become a warrior, how to think of his people before he thought of himself. I really, that what it comes down to me, that I had to consider and learn. And you know what? Straight up, guys, I'm still learning this. Because it's it's an evolution. I'm becoming more disciplined in what I do. I'm shedding, as Terry was talking about, those attributes of youth that were woven into my thoughts that were like, yeah, I could do whatever I want. So the warrior's way in the Office of Shaman is a way that cleans up the natural expression of beta to delta thought. But as you know, from the first upside down pyramid chart and what we've been talking about, that's not the only direction of thought. There's a delta to beta direction of thought. And that's more akin to, who you are and how you go about things, because the expression of who Ken Kaplan is, or who Ralph is, or who Pam is, or who Elise and Terry and John and everybody is a matter of that part of us that's not the body expressing through the body. Expressing through what? Thought. What kind of thought? Belief. John, is that accurate?
Ken, I think you know whether it's accurate or not, don't you?
Yeah, it's accurate.
Okay, then don't ask me that.
Okay, so I won't ask you that. So, but do you have any other ways to
Nope, you're doing just fine.
talk about it?
Nope, you're doing fine. Keep going.
Okay. Well, we talked today a little bit about how you can think about B1 as like being, what did you put, like your house? Right? Was that the way that you put it, John? B1's like your house.
Yeah, if
and
you
then
think about
harmony,
it, if you thought about it like that, you say, okay, where I live is I live at B1. That's
Yeah.
where you can find me. I'm at home right here where I'm at one. Okay. And where is that? That's in the land of specific function. And all around me, all around my house, are the things that I do. Whether I'm a farmer or a potato planter or a wood carver or whatever, whatever, a potter, whatever it is, that stuff you'll find around my house because that's what I do.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
On the other side there is harmony. Harmony is kind of like, well, harmony is the way that I can live with the land around me. And so, natural mind function is like taking advantage of what's around me to live with. Just looking at it and saying, okay, well, yeah, I can use these leaves for a roof, and I can use these boards or these sticks for a wall, and I can put this stuff together, and I can make a house out of it. And that way, I don't have to have a tent put up there all the time. It'd be drier. I like that better. Maybe I can build a fire in there. Who knows?
How does that have anything to do with what we're talking about tonight about direction?
Because it's a natural order and direction of thought. If you're faced with the raw materials, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to try to order that raw material into something that's more useful for you.
It makes sense.
Okay, that's a natural mind function. And it's predictable. It's predictable within whatever the people believe is real for them. And so, you can have people who are very good at natural mind function, but are quite limited as to how much of that function they dare to express. You have other people who can express all of it. I'm not sure that either one of them is better than the other. It's just different expressions of the same idea. The idea being life, and we're just expressing different ways of living life. But they're interesting ways. I'm not sure that I want to participate with some of them, but some of them might be fun to watch anyway.
I think you're saying more in maybe a amusing way to watch, not that you've already decided that they're not on your priority list of
yeah, probably not.
things.
No, you're right. That's probably not there.
So how does one clean house? I mean, how do you know?
Well, I don't know, Ken. How is it that you get? How is it you clean house? What is it that you're going to do to clean up around your place?
Well, let's take a thought of I'm not even sure the origin of this, although it's woven through my whole childhood. This lack of discipline. It's like well, I don't have to finish that. But yet, everything that I've got going on, whether it's taking care of this house or my float center or my law firm or my family or my business interests, all of them require, they require things that have to be done in the beginning, things that have to be done in the middle, and things that have to be done in the end. In other words, it has to be planned and finished. They just do. They have to be completed. That thought alone was not a thought that I brought with me from childhood. The thought from childhood was more like, yeah, I'll dabble in it. It's good enough. Goodbye. Thanks.
Yeah, but then you fooled around and grew up.
Yeah.
No, that was a fatal mistake there, and now you know.
Yeah.
You can't play like you don't anymore.
Nope.
Damn, what are you going to do now?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, yeah. Now you're gonna join a circus act, and for your for the or actually be a grown up and and get shit done, because I got.
You're going to run away and join the circus?
No, it's
Oh,
not.
come on. Can I watch? I was kind of hoping I could watch that at least.
Given the choice between that and doing trademarks, I would do trademarks. But
True. Okay, you're
Yeah.
hard up for something to do, dude.
yeah. But yeah, it's I've had to look at those things. Had to look and okay, this is classic Ken Kaplan kind of looking at things that I've done. But I'm no different than anyone else when I taking a peek under the hood and saying, "Yep, that's there." Okay, is it working? Answer might be yes, it might be no. But for the discipline things, I'll tell you that doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't work on a kid, and certainly doesn't work on a grown-up. Go figure.
Okay. Yeah. That's what my thought is concisely. Who would have thought? Grown-ups are different than kids, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I know some grown-ups need to get that memo. I think because I don't know I don't think they've heard that.
I think you're the unexamined mind is almost assuredly contains, if not littered with childhood programs that will either work to your benefit, whatever that is, for you to decide or not. If you want to join a circus, well, then maybe they work. If you want to do a business, well, maybe they don't work. But until you take a peek at what's under the hood, it may not be working.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't want to find out that something's not working under the hood, dude.
Okay.
So where do I go from here?
I don't know. What do we got? Terry, is this some?
It sounds dire, perhaps.
Yeah. No, that's. This is the discussion of natural mind function. This is where where who we are expresses freely.
Okay, that sounds good, but I'm not really sure that I'm seeing that in action. Am I?
I don't know.
Well, if you don't know, who would?
Well, no, it's true.
Can you refer me to somebody who would know? Because I came to you.
Well, yeah, it's true, but you're the one that said that you're not seeing it in action.
Yeah, I'm not, or am I? If I am, tell me where I must show me. Maybe I'm not looking in the right place. Maybe you just got to show me. You got to grab me by the scruff of the neck and show me where it is, dude. Well, or not, depending on which way it.
Yeah, no, I don't really. Yeah, I'm not. I'll be the first to tell you that. There's.
I don't want you to tell me that. I want you to be first to tell me how it is I get it done. Because excuse me, you're what I got.
Yep. Well.
Okay, slow down.
Okay.
Okay. Look, I know damn well that in your mind that you've got these answers and you've got these thoughts already organized. But I know damn well also that you're scared to express these. That's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true.
Well, all right. So look, I think everybody does that. Okay. In other words, I'm not making an accusation and say, hey, folks, do this shit. Okay. You're a folk, so you do this shit. Who cares? All right. Now, that's not the problem. The problem is like the virus. It isn't how many people we test or where it came from or that we're doing a great job on it. It's do we have the damn thing corralled or not? That's the problem here, right? It's not about all this other crap. It's about just that thing. Do we have it under control or do we not? And in this regard, you're involved here making a point in a class that you understand. But
yeah.
You're telling me that you want me to explain this for you. I can't explain this for you because you're the best of explaining this that there is.
Yeah, that's
because you're talking to people that you know and people that you love and people you understand.
Yep.
I live a long ways away, dude. I've never been to Bedminster.
Yeah.
And,
That's
and
true.
from some of the clients
Yeah.
or some of the townspeople over there, I might not want to go. Trump's one of the residents, basically.
It's not that bad.
He
Well-
might give me coronavirus.
Yeah. Well, I can tell the folks and everybody that that I have lifted up the hood, and I have looked at the reality I create here and everywhere, and have identified places like a lack of discipline that have contributed to things that are low on my priority list, or at least they're low on my priority list now. Those things require a re-examination. Who's going to do that? Me. How am I going to consider that? Like everything you guys and everybody considered. For me, I look and say, all right, is this okay? Do I want to do law firm like this? Is this the best I can do float center? Can I do friendship better than this? I had to think about things like doing friendship means being there for a friend when they're in need, no matter what that means. That required me to look at places where I was still a little baby, putting myself first and dedicating myself to, well, making something for someone else just fucking because, that turns out has a reward of itself.
Ain't that the truth?
Say it again.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
The words just like that.
Yep.
It surprises you.
Yeah. Does. It's a interesting kind of thing, that surprise thing. There's an article in the Atlantic today that talks about the psychological concept of cognitive dissonance, which is what we're talking about, a surprise. If it doesn't fit in the way you think it should fit in, then you're prone to say, it's not me. You got me all wrong.
Right. That's right. We do.
Yep.
And I don't think that that's a bad thing either. I think that we need to understand that that's what we do. That's what I think. I don't think that we need to say, oh, see,
Yeah.
I think you're a rotten person. No. I don't think that's the issue here. I think the issue really is,
I don't think so either.
we've got something else that we got to pay attention to here. That's what I think the issue is.
Okay, well, how could we say that more? We've got, so there's nothing, cognitive dissonance is not, it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just a thing. And it's just a psychological concept that says, if it doesn't fit within our view of how we look at things, goodbye, dismiss it.
Yeah, that's what we try to do, or we tend to do.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure that we try to.
Virus isn't real. Hoax.
Yeah,
That's not my mess. Somebody else's mess.
right. And so if I can blame Obama for it, or if I can blame the man on the moon for it, or I can blame anybody else for it, I convert it out of being my problem into being their problem, then I'm better off. I'm further ahead, etc. And so we all do stuff like that. All of us do it.
Yeah.
We learn to do it when we're children. We learn to make these trades when we're real young kids. And we're not doing anything that's bad. We're just trying to cover our butts is all.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's like that. Could say that it freezes us into a certain pattern and way of going about things, and I can't even say that being frozen in a certain pattern is bad. I couldn't say that until I lift up the hood and say, yeah, the engine's not firing here. This is not,
Yeah,
I'm not making the money I want to make, or I'm not whatever.
right. And yeah, exactly, because even in those instances, it's difficult to say that there's something wrong when we're, unless it is that you want to deal with just that thought of right and wrong, and it's like, I don't want to get caught there. I don't want to be limited to just that idea for myself. Okay, I know that some people find some security in that, and I'm not telling them that they're wrong about it. It's just that
Right.
it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It would not be one of those tuxedos that fits lots of sizes. It would, you couldn't,
Right.
if you're, if you're planning on mobility, and if you like to, examine things and maybe change directions, then, having
That's not the one.
that's not the one. So no value judgment there, except for your own value judgments. I think what I'm saying is that,
Whatever it is that fits for you, right?
yeah, yeah, and that's important. It really is, and I think the point that you're making is really one where it's not for me to say what is for you.
Well, not only that, it's like I don't know what you're learning from what you're experiencing.
Yeah. 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 You don't, and maybe you wouldn't, or maybe I can even say that how I apply that is not something that you know.
Yeah,
No.
it's. Can you do that thing that you're doing as well as anybody can do it? I mean, are you? I mean, maybe I don't. Not that anybody's better than you, but that you're as good as anybody else at doing what you do. You may not do it the same, but you it's at that level of expertise because you've thought about it all the way through and you're sure of that. I think that's a measure of natural mind function, actually.
Yeah. Yep. Makes sense. I know that it would be related to being one, because to do that I would have to be one. And what am I one at? Well, I have a specific function like you, just like everybody.
Right.
But the balance part of it in the lower quadrant
Is
is
how do you use that?
that's the point. How do I use that? Really, and that's where.
How do you get along with the community? How do you interact with the community using what you know?
Yeah.
That's all that falls in the natural mind function because you got to say that no one knows our thoughts. That's kind of naive under the very. I mean, that's one of the best things I can say about it. Purely foolish is one of the middle things, and just purely stupid is just about what you can get, But it falls into one of those categories, and none of them are really good, I guess.
No, they're not.
Because it doesn't allow anybody to be the best that they can be, and damn, that's what I'm interested in. I want to see what I want. I want to be entertained. I want to stand back and say, Jesus, look at how he's doing that thing. Wow, check that out. He done thought about that a lot, because I would have gone right on by right there. I'd fall off the cliff right there, and he already knew, and he stopped it. How in the world he know that?
Yeah.
See those are the things that I want to do. I want to applaud people doing those things, because I think everybody has that in them.
Yeah, they do.
Okay? But I think that they're scared to express that for whatever reason, and it's like they don't need to be, but they are. And it's heavy on them. I got it. It is. I wish that it wasn't, but I know that it is on folks. And so maybe this stuff we're talking about here make it easier for them to see. So you're going to do something else tomorrow night, are you? Because
Yeah, we're going to move from the left side of the plane.
Just for the record, for those of you who are interested, we have a band playing tonight here at the house. They came in an hour ago or so, and I think Terry's going to send out the Facebook Live connection to that. So if anybody are interested in watching it later on, you can connect and see it. Okay.
Sounds
anyway,
great.
I'm not going to go bother them and everything.
Okay. Yeah, we'll
All right.
yeah. Like, thanks so much for those still listening. Tomorrow, we're going to move to the right side of the playing field and talk about empathy function. Remember, the associated tool is brutal honesty, especially brutal honesty with oneself. Releases the energy governed by empathy function. We'll talk more about that tomorrow and Friday. See you all.
Good night, Ken.
Nighty night.
Night, Ken.
Night, Pat. Night, Pam. Greg.
Night, Ken.
Night, Greg.